this question is, from an investment standpoint, what's our expectations for returns, this year, maybe into the next year, or, short future here? It sounds like we're in a holding pattern, but what would be our expectation for investments?
Let me take a run at that, Mark, and I want to try to answer that dead on, and I'm going to tie it in with something else I heard that's on my mind. And excuse me if I'm a little out of line with this and not exactly on the parallel. I'm not a very good one to talk about expectation. There's too many black swan events and different things so I wouldn't want to say something like, oh, expect 8%, or so. I don't know. I don't know what it is. All I know is I want to do better than everybody else. That's my goal in taking care of your money or anybody else's money. I want to do better than everybody else. And I thought it was almost going to lead in to this kind of a question, because I'm surprised it isn't asked, because I hear it every day, and I just so understand the impatience surrounding it. The question is, geez, I've got all this money, and you've got all this money stacked up, and I'm not earning anything on that money. There's a chunk of money that's just not earning anything. And how frustrating is that? I understand. I'm in the same situation. I've got my money invested just like yours is, exactly like yours is, and everybody else. We recently had a client that had a very successful sale of a piece of property, and a very large amount of money came in. And we were scurrying around to try to figure out what to do with it, because for the time being, we just wanted to keep it safe before we could sit down and figure out what we wanted to do overall with it. And so, we're looking at Treasury bills, okay? 6-month Treasury bills. I think 6-month Treasury bills were paying 1/3 of 1%, weren't they? Was that
0.21?
0.21. Excuse me, I overstated the return.
More bad news.
Yeah. No, and so we put some in that, and then we put some in 26-week notes or something, I think. And that was like 1/8 of 1%. Okay, that's Treasury bills. Now, we had an opportunity, and I don't know if it was presented in the same context as this, but we had an opportunity, and that's a bank would pay us 1.5% if we would give them $1 million for 1 year. 1.5% to give them $1 million for 1 year. Well, I probably wouldn't bet a plug nickel on the viability of any bank. And I may have to use your nickel even to make that wager. But I sure as hell don't want to put $1 million and then have the Fed take over the bank 15 minutes later and have the client lose $500,000. I think that's an ugly sort of surprise. But that's what we were being offered at 1.5%. So what I'm telling you is the interest rates have collapsed. It's almost like the government is egging you on. Come on, you guys, climb out here, make a mistake. I dare you. I dare you. They're almost in the business of selling bad advice. Now, from an advisor standpoint, I look at that, and I'm looking at our own money, my wife and I's own money. And so I'll tell you the way we think about that. If you can imagine that this represents some kind of a portfolio, generally across the board, with all of you out here for who we take care of their money, your money, we sort of have 40% of our worker ants, if we would.
Dick, you're holding up 2 fingers. Is that some kind of new math?
That's new math. 40% of 5.
It's metric math.
Got it. Get the computer out and shut up. You blew my whole train of thought. But
Okay.
we've got a lot of
40%.
We've got a lot of people guarding the queen, so to speak. I guess I'll put it that way. And and they're not doing anything other than guarding the queen. They're not earning much money. They're sitting over, hugging the trunk of the tree, and we've only got six, the other three fingers, 60%, out sort of looking for food. They're climbing out on a limb. They're the ones that are out taking some risk. And that's true of how your holdings are right now. About 40% of your money is guarding the queen and not earning anything, really. Okay? 60% we've got out earning money, out climbing on the limb, taking some degrees of risk in various areas. And there's a couple of things that could happen. We're out either looking for the food, and we find that with that 60%, we're finding bad food. We're finding that the limb breaks. We're concerned about the bear coming out of the woods and shaking the tree. And there's a lot of damn bears out there, believe me. But in so doing, my evaluation, our evaluation is that's where we've been all year, and we're still up probably 1,000 basis points better than everybody else. So the 60% of our worker ants have done a hell of a job. But we've still got a couple, 40% of them guarding the queen, if I can use that kind of an analogy. That, in my frame, that seems to be the safest way that I know how to do this, because I can't see what I can't see. I know there's bears out in the woods. I know there's probably some bad things that are going to happen, but if we can do what we did just for the 8 months adjusted even for this year, as I said, we're 1,000 basis points ahead of the competition. I don't know how you get better than that. And I think we're doing it without a lot of risk, and that becomes my primary goal, to try to do it without a lot of risk. And that's as smart as we can be. I don't know how we can be smarter than that. That's as good as we can see.
Take it one step further on, is there an expectation of return or something like this? We talk about bears and trees and analogies that I think make a lot of sense. When we're looking at how to construct the portfolio, we have to look at the alternative, which is loss. How do we minimize loss in such a volatile market with so many different difficult things to predict, so many difficult things? We talk about lack of clarity and things of this, like we have in this current economy. And one of the things that we do across the board is we're not just looking for the opportunities. We give just as much time, devote hours and hours debating what the risks are. At the end of the day, we don't want to lose money. The pain of losing is far more worse than actually the accumulation of a modest amount, an equivalent amount that's proven. Most of our clients, many of you that are here tonight, rely on us to help find the risks and steer clear of the risks, not just find the opportunities and go after those. And I think that point was made earlier tonight, but I just wanted to reiterate that.